Even if you do everything else well, you go to the domain of death because you failed to do one thing. Make sure to fix that one thing, which is the disease of your faith. Psalm 37:18. The days of the blameless are known to the Lord, and their inheritance will endure forever. People do what they know well. However, even people who do what they know well may have no idea at all about what they don't know, and as a result, they don't do it, thus committing sins of failing to do what they don't know. Therefore, if God were to judge them with what they failed to do, they would all be subject to that judgment. This is like how even in the world, you know most of the laws and keep them well. But if you don't know one or two laws among all laws, and you go against the law without knowing while taking action, you can get arrested and punished. Even among those who came to prison, there is not a single person who came because they did all 100 things wrong. They did one or two things wrong, and they were imprisoned for those crimes. The same is true with those who are living their lives of faith. Let's say you do most things well before God, but if you go against one or two laws among God's laws, then whether you knew about the law or not, you are judged as a result and become imprisoned in spiritual prison. Therefore, you need to learn, know, and do everything well. You need to do everything well. Then you are said to be perfect. Even if animals on a mountain go around well and do things well, if they get caught once in a trap set by a hunter while going around, they will be unable to get out of the trap and die as a result, regardless of how well they did until then. The same is true with people. Even if you do everything well, if you are lazy, so you don't do things you need to do each time, if your heart becomes weak, so you don't do what you need to do each time, if you speak recklessly, if you don't value the word, so you don't read or listen to it, if you don't pray, if you don't give thanks to God, if you don't love the Trinity, and if you don't evangelize, then by failing to do one or two things well, you will be judged as a result of that sin, and your entire body will suffer, and some will even go to the domain of death. If a person's entire body is healthy, but if one body part, such as the lung, a liver, the stomach, the large intestine, or the mind gets sick and cannot be fixed, then as a result of that illness, you may not be able to use the entire body, or even die. In this way, even if you do everything well while living a life of faith, when problems occur with one aspect among the many aspects of faith, then your entire body and spirit sometimes becomes bound down as a result. Therefore, you need to do things perfectly. Then your entire body and your spirit will all become prosperous. So there is something each of you must do as you live your life of faith, and that is finding the disease of your faith and taking care of it. Even if people do everything well, if they fail to fix one disease, they may suffer as a result of that disease, be hospitalized, or even die. I want you to surely realize that faith is like that too. Even a person who has been driving safely without an accident for 10, 20 years can get into an accident one day while sleeping behind the wheel, speeding, or going against a traffic light. He can get hurt or even die. The same is true with faith. When one part of a machine breaks down, the entire machine cannot be used either. This is also true with couples. Even if many things fit in their lives together, there are many couples who get a divorce because they don't like one thing about the other, which doesn't fit one another. Due to that one thing, the whole becomes difficult and painful. When farming, if one thing, that is, the rain doesn't come, then even though you might have done everything diligently, that year's crops will come to ruin. Wild animals also get eaten when they do one thing wrong, even if they have done everything else well. Satan's block you and bind your feet with one thing. The Israelites believed in God well, but they ultimately could not receive the Messiah Jesus who was sent by God. It was because of one thing. It was because they listened to the words of the slanderers and distrusted Jesus. Distrust as a result of the slanderers blocked their eternal path. In Moses' time, the Israelites followed Moses and escaped Egypt, but in the end, they could not enter the Canaan that God spoke about. It was because of one thing. It was because they grumbled against Moses, who was sent by God. There is a reason behind a ship sinking in the sea. There is also a reason with a rock collapsing. There are many reasons, but there is also a fundamental reason. It is because there is something wrong. There is a reason behind those who went to hell. There may be many reasons, but there is a fundamental reason. In the end, it is because of their own sins. It is because they failed to do their responsibilities. Even if you do everything well, your entire body gets tied up because you failed to do one thing. So how upsetting and embittering that is. Therefore, everyone, make sure to fix that one thing you are doing wrong. You can do it if you become one with the Lord's thoughts. Then the Lord will become the head, and you will do even better.